Zoe. So I grew up in a very loving and happy family, and we would sometimes go to church, but it was very traditional and formal, and there was no Sunday school. I did know some Bible stories from primary school, and I remember praying to Jesus as a small child. But as I grew up, my simple faith started to be challenged. I went to an all-girls secondary school, and the message was to be a strong, independent woman. Ironically, it was my independent spirit that led me to go to Christian Union, as I saw a poster that said, "Go against the flow." I met some friends there who invited me to their church, and it was the first time I'd met people who actually seemed to believe the whole Bible. I loved it, but it started some conflict in my heart, and also with my family. My dad in particular believed in science and thought the Bible was a man-made book and you couldn't believe every word. I think he thought my friend's church was a cult and I was being brainwashed. I thought I'd have to throw away my brain if I really wanted to follow Jesus, and I wasn't prepared to do that. Instead, I carried on living with one foot in both camps. I'd go to church on Sunday, but then the rest of the week I was living like God didn't exist. I was living for my studies, my friends, and relationships. When I was about 22, I went to a bigger church in central London for the social life, but God had other plans for me. I attended a course where we read Mark's Gospel, one of the biographies of Jesus. As we read, I started to see the Bible differently. Maybe it wasn't just a collection of rules and stories. The Bible claims to be the very words of God, God revealing himself to us and speaking to us because he wants us to know him. I started to see how hypocritical and illogical I was being to think I could pick and choose the bits I liked and ignore the rest. The Bible was either true or it wasn't. And if it was true, then that would change everything. I knew I wanted to choose Jesus, but I was afraid. I was afraid to admit I'd been wrong, to think I knew better than God. I was afraid of giving up my freedom, especially my freedom of thought. And I was afraid of what Jesus might ask me to do for him. And so I very nervously prayed, like the man in Mark's Gospel, who says, "I believe, help my unbelief." But God answered that prayer. God gave me the gift of faith and the certainty that the Bible really is true. And instead of having to throw away my brain, it actually freed me to enjoy science all the more, because it felt like discovering and marveling at what a truly amazing creator God we have. When I look back, I thought it would be a heavy burden to follow Jesus. But instead, as I submitted to Jesus as my King, I felt the burden lift from my shoulders. Because Jesus is the Good Shepherd who willingly died on the cross in my place. He took the judgment that I deserved so I might live. And Jesus said he came to give us life to the full. That doesn't mean life as a Christian is easy, but knowing Jesus changes everything. Because however difficult or painful life is, I know that God is always with me. And one day, Jesus will lead me home to see him face to face and be with him forever. Knowing Jesus is truly better than anything.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Zoe. Thank you. Well, we call Good Friday